Welcome to episode 22 of the Credit Card BS podcast. My name is Sean. I'm the UC Berkeley graduate that created and taught the university-sponsored course on credit card rewards. I'm coming at you today from Regent, Hong Kong in an upgraded room with a full view of the beautiful, beautiful harbor. I'm joined today with my co-host, Sherwin.
Hi everyone, I'm Sherwin. I'm a Stanford student who's really into the credit card, travel, miles, and points hobby. I got into this about a year ago, and since then I've accumulated massive amounts of points and gone on really cool trips. Happy to share some of those tips and tricks I've learned along the way with you today. The reason this podcast is called the Credit Card BS podcast, as most of you probably know by now, is because the initials B and S refer to the schools Sean and I attend respectively, Berkeley and Stanford. But as usual, we've put aside our differences today to talk about credit card rewards. Today's episode, hotel upgrade hacks. So today we're going to be focusing on the complimentary upgrades we and you, if you follow our tips and tricks, will get by having status with hotel chains or booking through special programs. There are many different types of upgrades that are possible depending on the program, depending on the hotel. Generally, we're looking at something with a better view, possibly a larger room type, and oftentimes even suites if you know the right tricks.
Yes, and you should also note that sometimes hotels will try to sell you on fake upgrades, as I like to call them, where they'll be like, "Oh, we put you into a higher floor or a deluxe room compared to the standard room," which is the same thing. So just on these upgrades, not all of them are created equal. Make sure you do a bit of research into the room types that you're trying to get upgraded to or that you do get upgraded to. Now, to the easiest way, or pretty much the main way you're going to be able to actually get any of these upgrades, is via hotel status at the major chains. Because in the terms of these status programs, they're all supposed to include room upgrades to some degree. So it really helps you if there's something in the terms that says you're supposed to get room upgrades, compared if you're staying at some random boutique hotel that has no status program and you try to ask for an upgrade, they have no real reason to give it to you unless something went wrong with your stay. So starting off with the most complicated of the programs is Marriott Bonvoy. Now, Marriott Bonvoy has three main tiers of status that we're concerned with: gold, platinum, and titanium. So gold is where upgrades theoretically start to become eligible. You're probably not going to get upgraded as gold. Too many people have it. It's too easy to get. So many credit cards give it, including the Ritz-Carlton card, the Brilliant card, or the Brilliant card gives you platinum, which is higher. The Amex Platinum.
American Express Platinum, yeah.
Exactly. So it's too easy to get. Too many people have it. It really doesn't mean anything. Maybe you'll get upgraded occasionally if you're lucky. Don't expect it. The first real status of Marriott where things matter is platinum, where then you become technically eligible for suite upgrades, except at Ritz-Carlton hotels. So platinum status you can get from the Marriott Brilliant card automatically. That's by far the easiest way to get it and the way you should get it if you're planning on earning it. And you could get upgraded to suites at that point, again, still not at Ritz-Carlton's. If you get titanium status, however, which is the tier above platinum, you are technically eligible for suite upgrades at Ritz-Carlton hotels. That requires 75 elite qualifying nights to attain the status. You can get that the easiest by opening the Marriott Brilliant card and the Marriott Business Amex card. Those will combine give you 40 elite qualifying nights, leaving you with 35 additional to go. So, Sherwin, what are your thoughts on Marriott status? Is it ever worth it? Do you hear people getting upgraded on this?
So I think it depends on your travel patterns. Are you someone who's going to be loyal to Marriott in the first place? Is it something you think? I mean, I personally think the platinum status can be decent because you can just get it directly with one credit card. However, that credit card, the Brilliant, does have a pretty high annual fee. I think is it $650?
$650, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are credits and perks to offset that, but you kind of have to decide. I would also say Marriott, I'm a little sketched out on sometimes because I read all of these online reports of people getting Bonvoyed. The joke is that Bonvoy is the name of the new status program, and because Marriott has expanded so fast and acquired so many properties, they haven't done a really good job enforcing their terms and elite benefits across all these different properties. So sometimes people have experienced them not really honoring the elite status benefits properly or not being very generous with upgrades. What do you think, Sean?
Yeah, I've heard similar cases. I think it really depends on the hotel as well. You have to know that like if you're going to a mid-tier full-service brand like a Marriott, a Sheraton, maybe a Westin, the expectation across the board service-wise is lower than if you're at a full-service luxury property like Ritz-Carlton, St. Regis, Edition. Now Ritz-Carlton could be stingy, but like if you're staying at a St. Regis as an elite, that's you have a higher expectation going in. They're more likely to upgrade you because, across the whole board there, the service is at a higher tier. If you're staying at like a loft, a Fairfield Inn, something like that, I mean, even if you have status, to be fair, I mean, like, what are they going to upgrade you to, right? Like, there's nothing. So, like, if you're like, just know that going in, like, don't expect to get treated like royalty at these like limited service or even full service, like low quote unquote tier brands. A lot of the benefits become at like the upper tier of full service to luxury property tier. That's like when you're going to get treated the best. That's when the upgrades are going to be the coolest. So just like also factor that in. If you're staying at a lofts or 4 points every night, doesn't like the status isn't going to do much
Yeah.
for you.
I think that's a really good point that you bring up. And I think another thing to think about is the relationship between how easy it is to get status and how likely you are to get upgraded. It's sort of a zero sum game where, I mean, the whole point of upgrades is that if like a better room is available and the hotel hasn't sold it out yet, they'll give it to you, right? But if they did sell it out or they upgraded other elites, you're less likely to get it, right? So now that Marriott has made platinum status more easily attainable by simply getting one credit card rather than having to stay like what 50 something nights, it more people are naturally going to have platinum status, which means you're more likely to encounter other platinum elite members at hotels who are also in line for those upgrades, and that kind of decreases your odds of getting status. So it's kind of a interesting game where like the easier it is to get the status, the less valuable it is. But also if it's hard to get status, it may not be worth it for you to go for it, if that makes sense.
No, that's a very, very good point, I think. Yeah, because when it's so easy, as you said, other people are going to get upgraded. And even if other people don't get upgraded, there's a perception that they don't want to upgrade you anymore because there's so many elites, right? If everyone is platinum elite and then they upgrade every platinum elite to a suite, the suites then don't even feel like hard to attain. So people are going to want to stop paying for them. So even if there's no other elites at the hotel, like they just don't want to as much if it's such a common status and they see it so much. So I think it's a very good point. That's like, yeah, like why platinum is probably the sweet spot for most people. But, that's why personally I went for titanium because I feel now that like, okay, I'm at the first tier you actually have to earn. So I feel I'm much more likely to get upgraded under that.
That's a fair point. Now, Marriott also does offer these things called Suite Night Awards. Sean, do you want to talk a little bit about this?
Yeah, so Marriott, at their milestones, so I believe it's 50 nights and 75 elite qualifying nights, you receive a milestone reward. And your option for both of these, you can choose 5 Sweet Night Awards, respectively, for each. Now, how a Sweet Night Award works with Marriott is 1 Sweet Night Award equals 1 night. So if you have a stay booked at an eligible brand upcoming, you can apply these Sweet Night Awards to that hotel, and it will give you a list of options of suites that you're willing to use the award for should it become available. And so it will rank it like highest tier suite to lowest tier suite or whatever. And so you only select the rooms that you're okay with being upgraded to and then burning then that Sweet Night Award. Now, how it works is in the days prior to your arrival, an automated algorithm goes through it, predicts if the hotel is going to be able to sell that suite. If it thinks it is, it will not upgrade you. If it doesn't think it can sell the suite, then it will automatically upgrade you into the suite and then burning those free night certificates. Now, the problem with these awards, one, they only work 1 per night. So the most of these you can earn in any given year is 10, which is so small. I mean, compared to Hyatt, you can earn 8 weeks of them compared to 10 nights at Marriott. And Hyatts are guaranteed, whereas Marriott's are not. So they're not that, I don't want to say they're completely useless because they have an interesting kind of angle to them. Because of the fact that it's like so restrictive, Marriott lets you even try to use these to very premium suites sometimes. So you can just like take a gamble. Like let's say you got a bunch of stays coming up at all these brands. You can take super big gambles. Like, okay, like let's say I'm redeeming at this very, very nice hotel and I'll just pick the top suite they let me use it for, which is maybe a super premium suite that I'm probably not going to get. But maybe I do get it. And if I don't get it, they'll give me the Suite Night Awards back. But if I get it, I got this super amazing suite confirmed a couple days before arrival. So I think that's like one really cool use case of them. But they're not the most powerful of the Suite Night certificates that are out there.
Have you found yourself using these in valuable ways?
I actually haven't earned any yet, surprisingly, because despite
Okay.
being a Titanium Elite, my first milestone was the 5 Elite qualifying nights, because I needed them. The second milestone was the 40-night, 40K certificate, because I couldn't really justify the Suite Night Awards over a $300 hotel night.
Fair. I think that's a very fair calculus. Okay, is there anything else with Marriott, or shall we move on to Hilton?
I think that's it. We should move on to Hilton now, I think.
Sure. Okay, so Hilton kind of has 3 status levels: silver, gold, and diamond. But the room upgrades really only kick in starting at the gold level. Hilton Gold status is really easy to earn. American Express Platinum card, you get gold status, or the $95 annual fee Hilton cards from American Express, Hilton Surpass, as well as the Hilton Business card, all give you Hilton Gold. Then the higher status is Hilton Diamond status, and that was actually also pretty easy to attain through the Hilton Aspire card, which has a $450 annual fee, but it comes with two $250 credits, a total of $500 each year, as well as a free night certificate that can be used at anywhere in the world, including aspirational properties, as well as you get the Hilton Diamond status. So it's quite easy to justify our opinion. We had a whole episode on Hilton hacks. You can go listen to it if you want more details. But the general idea is that both gold and diamonds are eligible for for upgrades, and diamonds are supposed to be eligible for suite upgrades. However, the terms don't mandate that the hotel give elite members certain types of upgraded rooms as long as they're available. It's kind of more of a discretionary thing among hotels. So people's experience can vary, especially because of how easy, again, as I said, the trade-off between how easy it is to get the status and how likely you are to get upgraded. I think we really see that with Hilton. A lot of diamonds in the U.S. with people getting the Spire card, even though they might only stay 2 or 3 nights a year. So I think Hilton status, from what I've read, is much more valuable abroad. The likelihood you're going to get upgraded abroad is much higher. Whereas in the U.S., it's kind of hit and miss. Sean, what have you heard about this, or do you have any personal experience with this?
Yeah, I want to say this is kind of what ties into what I said earlier, where it's not even just the hotel not being able to upgrade you, because I understand sometimes hotels can't upgrade you when there's too many elites. They just don't want to a lot with Hilton Diamond. And I think it's because of the fact they know it's just too easy to get. So a couple examples. A Waldorf Astoria Beverly Hills does not upgrade beyond one category. Waldorf Astoria Monarch Beach usually does not upgrade beyond one category. When I got a fire pit room, it was this huge deal, and I only got it because I was staying on one night. I called the night before, and there was literally no one at the hotel. It was the most empty you could ever imagine. And even then, that was such a big deal. The guy checking us in was shocked that they upgraded me to a fire pit room. It's the same room, just the fire pit. It wasn't a suite or anything like that. So in that case, there was no diamond staying there. Or maybe there were, but there were plenty of rooms to upgrade to. The Conrad Abu Dhabi, they refused to upgrade me to a full suite despite one being available. And as an example of just how many diamonds there are, even internationally, at the breakfast restaurant of the Conrad Abu Dhabi, keep in mind, which is the Middle East, which is supposed to be a very, very good place for Hilton Diamond. There's a section at breakfast, the dedicated diamond section, just like a seating area. The seating area was just as packed as the rest of the restaurant. It was full to the brim. There were diamonds, I'm sure, that weren't even able to sit there. And that, this is supposed to be at a place where there's not many elites, or as many elites. So I haven't been that impressed. But remember, you just have to open a credit card to get the status. And the credit card, even without the status, pays for itself tenfold in my mind. I hold multiple of these cards. I want to hold more. And, I already have diamond status, so I'm not even getting the extra ones for the diamond status. So with that said, proportionally to how easy it is to earn, it's amazing because it's just so easy to earn. It's the easiest status of the major chains to get top tier status in, and it completely pays for itself with having the Aspire card.
Yes, and I want to remind everyone, for most of these programs, the upgrade kind of terms or upgrade benefit associated with having elite status is available to you regardless of whether you're paying cash or redeeming points. So that's just really valuable. You can get upgraded even on your free night awards. Okay,
That's a
I
very
think
good point.
that
Yeah.
yeah, I think that covers it for Hilton. Let's move on to the next program, which is IHG. Now, IHG also has a number of statuses. We're really only going to focus on the top two statuses, the platinum status as well as diamond status. Platinum status, the most easy way to get it is to get the IHG Premier card or an IHG Premier Business card. They're a $99 annual fee. They come with annual free night certificates. Super easy to justify, in my opinion. As well as IHG Diamond status. Normally, you have to say 70 nights to earn this, but the easier way is to spend $40,000 on one of the IHG credit cards. Not saying it's easy, but it's much easier than staying 70 nights, in my view. Sort of similar to Marriott and Hilton, where hotels aren't necessarily required to give you an upgrade if you're an elite and there's availability. It's more of like up to the hotel's discretion if there's availability. But generally, it is a stated benefit of the terms that both platinum and diamonds get complimentary upgrades, possibly to suites, depending on the hotel. Sean, have you had experience with IHG hotel room upgrades?
I have actually. So this is the Regent Hong Kong, which is an IHG property. I am an IHG Diamond Ambassador. So real quickly, Ambassador is like a sub status of IHG. It's a paid program. It's $200 a year. It automatically comes with Platinum status. But even more interestingly, this is unofficial still, but it does extend Diamond status. If you have Diamond status, it's expiring. You buy or renew Ambassador. It is shown that it will extend your diamond for another year. Now, it's unofficial, so they could remove it at any time. I provide no guarantees. Literally any second it could go away. But it worked for me. It's been working for other people still. And so it's been allowing me to retain my diamond status without doing any work at all. And so, yeah, this is what is equivalent to the standard room, but with a full harbor view, which I am very, very happy with because, this is a view of a lifetime. This is the best harbor view direct of the harbor in all of Hong Kong. Yes, there's the Ritz-Carlton, but that's like high up and a bit further away. This is like as close to the harbor and best views you can get in literally all of Hong Kong. Points bookable, not points bookable. So I'm very happy with it. Now, again, I have IHG Diamond Ambassador. So Ambassador also does give you a guaranteed one category upgrade at intercontinental hotels, which it's a little tricky if it works only on cash stays or point stays as well. But Regent does not honor Ambassador at all. So I did not receive this upgrade due to Ambassador. I only received it due to IHG Diamond status.
Yes. However,
it's
if
been
you
good.
have Ambassador status, it gives you IHG Platinum status, which Regent will honor. But the Ambassador status itself is not meaningful at Regents or Kimptons or non-intercontinentals.
That's a very good point. That's a very, very good point. I've had good experience. I would say overall, I've been more impressed than with Hilton. I mean, I think I've been more impressed with Hilton Diamond. It seems a bit more consistent on IHG's end. I was very nervous they weren't going to give me this upgrade because the hotel was near being sold out, and I had a 5-night stay, but it worked. I got lucky with it. I would say I would put it below Marriott and Hyatt for sure, because with Marriott Titanium, if I show up as a Titanium and a suite's open, I feel more confident I'm going to get that suite. With Hilton Diamond or IHG, it's more up in the air. I don't really know what they're going to do with it, but I would say because it's also fairly easy to get, because you spend the $40K the 1 year, subsequent years, if the Ambassador trick is still working, it's pretty easy to maintain. I've liked it.
Sounds good. Yeah. Cool. And now let's move on to everyone's favorite program, World of Hyatt. So we've already talked about this in our World of Hyatt Hacks episode. Please go check that out if you're interested in more details. Generally, Hyatt has 3 statuses. Discoverist, which you can get by holding the World of Hyatt personal or business credit cards. Very easy to get. Explorist, which you can obtain with 30 nights. And Globalist, which you obtain with 60 nights. So kind of harder to get. And generally, Globalist is not as easy to obtain because there's no credit card that gives it to you automatically. But, it is, in Sean's in my opinion, probably the best hotel status of the ones we're talking about today. So with Explorer status, the mid-tier status, you're supposed to get the best room available that's not a suite. So that may be a better view, a larger deluxe room. If one is available, they're supposed to give it to you. What's really powerful about globalist status is that if there is a standard suite available in hotel, World of Hyatt usually classifies your suites as standard or premium. There generally is a standard one available at each property. So if one of those is available at the time of check-in for your stay, they're required to give it to you. And what we love about World of Hyatt program is that these terms set a floor, right? So it's not merely at the hotel's discretion if they want to give you the standard suite or not. If you're a globalist and the suite is available for the duration of your stay at the time of your check-in, they need to give it to you. So Sean, what do you think?
I've had excellent experience with Hyatt Globalist. I've been consistently upgraded to very nice rooms. I haven't had issues. The upgrades often are processed in advance. And that's one thing I
Yes.
really appreciate, because I really dislike at check-in being all stressed out, like, oh, are they going to upgrade me? Like, I see it's available. Is it going to go? What if someone, gets upgraded first? Or what if they don't give it to me and I got to argue with the check-in agent? It's really nice when it's processed in advance, which is, for me, in my experience, happened more often than not, where I'll be upgraded, to either the standard suite or a room that's as high as available before checking in, like, maybe a couple hours before, maybe the night before. And it takes a lot of stress off, which is nice. It makes it just, it's really exciting knowing, I'm going to my suite. I'm already, getting it.
Yeah.
So I've had very good experience with it. One property I had.
I completely
I was gonna
agree.
say-
And what Sean is referring to is on the app, you can kind of, if you click on so it doesn't show up on the website for some reason, but if you have the World of Hyatt app and you open like your reservation details, you can see like the room you've been assigned to, including like if you got upgraded. So it'll replace whatever room you booked with like the room you're actually in. And sometimes properties will process that beforehand. And yeah, I also have had experience to be able to see what room I've been assigned to beforehand.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's really something that's made the Hyatt stand out from the rest, where, especially because Globals is actually legitimately difficult to earn. I mean, yes, there's been the status challenges and that stuff, but compared to the other programs, it's not even a competition. I mean, Titanium, for example, which is like Marriott's near top tier status, only 35 elite qualifying nights if you open the credit cards. Hyatt, you still need 55 on any standard given year. So it's just so much. There's just more of like the person checking you in knows it's like actually a legitimate status to earn compared to these other programs where it's just a credit card or you just renew like this. So that's the thing that's like really stood out to me.
I mean, to me, the biggest difference is that all the other properties, Marriott, Hilton, IHG, their terms don't specifically mandate upgrades if they're available. They're just like, oh, it's subject to availability at the hotel's discretion. Whereas Hyatt is, if you're an explorer, literally you must get the best room available at the time of check-in. If you're a globalist, you must get the standard suite. And don't be afraid to ask for it if they don't automatically give it to you and you know there's availability, because that's required by the terms. It is an aspect of the loyalty program that you paid a lot of money or points to get into, right? So it's not merely at the hotel's discretion. Also note that the Hyatt terms set a floor, but from both Sean's and my experience, sometimes properties will go beyond what is required by the program. I have had some luck in the past where I've not only been upgraded to a standard suite as a globalist as is required, but beyond that to even more premium suites that they're not required by the World of Hyatt program to do. But I think it's just really nice that some of these properties will do that. And to me it makes sense, because if they're not going to sell the room anyway, it's going to be empty. They might as well reward their most loyal members to obtain those upgrades, and I think that really makes the program stand out from the other ones.
I agree. And I think another thing that makes Hyatt really stand out is in their Suite Upgrade Award as well. So when you're reaching Globalist at 50 nights and at 60 nights, milestone rewards, you'll get 2 suite upgrades. And these are very powerful because they are guaranteed upgrades when you apply them. It's not like Marriott's where it's like you have to like apply it in advance and you wait a couple days, who knows. You have to wait like before arrival. Hyatt's is literally, when I book my room and I see a standard suite open, bookable cash or points, I can apply that suite upgrade to be booked into the suite and guaranteed that suite for up to a 7-night stay per single suite certificate. Now, it only works for standard suites, so I can't go to premium, but that's amazing to guarantee yourself a suite. I could book a year out from now for a full week at the most expensive hotel. I mean, there's a handful of exceptions you can't use these at, like Park Hyatt Maldives, etc. Some of those like really high tier properties, but even at really, really high tier places, okay, if there's a standard suite open, I can book like a week-long stay, upgrade myself into that suite. Points or cash booking, it doesn't matter. The only bookings that don't qualify are free night certificate awards, but points award bookings are valid. That's really amazing. Another really cool point is that you can actually book suites directly with points, like for premium suites often, or for standard suites that, you can't normally use a suite certificate for. Maybe you don't have it, or maybe it's a premium suite you're trying to book. And you can do this at a very reasonable cost compared to what other programs are charging for their suites. So at most of the other programs, the only decent room to ever book on points is the standard room. With Hyatt, not necessarily the case. So for a standard suite, I forget the exact pricing model, but basically for a premium suite, it's double the cost of a standard room. For a standard suite, I think it's often it's more than 50% of the cost. It's not exactly in between. It's like a little more than 50%.
Is it like 6,000 more points or something? It might not be consistent from category.
It depends, because I know like at a category 2, I think it's like 13,000 a night or something like that.
Okay.
Not
It's
12.
like
So it's a little
pretty
weird.
reasonable. It's less than double for sure.
Yes,
Like, to
and
book
so
directly
that's
into standard
nice, because some of these premium suites can be huge. These can be some suites that are twice the size, more than twice the size of a
Yeah.
standard room.
No, I think it makes a lot of sense. Like with the other programs, like for example, IHG, you can only book like the standard rooms with points. Like there's just not even an option to book suites with points. Hilton theoretically lets you book any room with points, but anything beyond the standard room costs an astronomical number of points. I've seen one night go for like 1 million or 2 million points. So we're not even considering that really. But Hyatt like actually has an award chart, not only for their standard rooms, but an award chart for their standard suites and premium suites that you can book directly with properties. So like, for example, if you're traveling as a family and have kids or have like more people, and it is actually important to you that you are guaranteed that suite, and like you don't want to just count on the complimentary upgrade as elite status, or if you don't have elite status, you can book directly into that suite with a reasonable number of points, which I think is pretty amazing. Just like the additional optionality that gives you.
I agree. It's one of the features that makes the World High program just so well-rounded overall. Now, something we should discuss, and a lot of times when talking about elite status, especially at luxury places, people will counter with, I don't care about status. Just book everything via a preferred partner like FHR. And FHR basically is a program where you can get yourself a one category upgrade at check-in just by booking with that program. So it's basically like a premium program for like luxury properties. The price is the same. It's the standard rate, whatever the standard rate at the hotel is. And a lot of times you can find yourself getting treated very well, basically equivalent to elite status by booking via one of these high tier programs. And so why even focus on elite status? Why not just book everything through FHR or some similar program? My counter is this. One, FHR only works for cash stays at the standard rate. So if you plan to do any stays on points, you can't use a program like FHR or any of these preferred programs. So
Unless
like
you're
elite
happy
status
with
matters.
redeeming your membership rewards points at 1 cent per point, which we would never do.
That's true. You could theoretically do that if you just want to burn money out of thin air. But, otherwise, like to get it on points, you have to have the status. The other thing is, like, let's be real, like a one category upgrade, what is this, amateur hour? Like, that's all you get on FHR officially. I'm not after one category upgrades. No one's like, oh my God, this guy's such a baller. He got a high floor room. Oh my God. So that's why status to me matters still. And again, you can stack status with FHR. We've talked about this previously, but you can stack your status with FHR or these preferred programs usually. So it's not like an either or scenario. Utilize both. Still get the status, because unless you're because if you're a mega baller and you're just paying cash for everything, great. Status is awesome for you. If you're paying points for everything, great. Status is awesome for you because you won't get it with FHR. So I think it's really important. Like, it's not an either or. It's like, why not both?
Yeah, especially like a lot of these cool upgrades happen at like aspirational properties above, my tax bracket basically, and something I would never pay cash for. And being able to have those benefits honored when I'm redeeming points for something I would otherwise never pay money for is just really cool, and unlocks another set of experiences that you otherwise may not have. Okay, cool. So now that we've talked about all these different hotel loyalty programs and the room upgrade not availability, but benefit associated with them, let's pivot to talking about some strategies and tricks Sean and I have to get a better chance of getting a hotel room upgrade when you have status. So the first tip, I guess, very important, please book directly with the hotel chain or else your status won't be honored, right? So if you're booking through the Chase Travel Portal or through Expedia or through hotels.com or third party, I'm not saying those don't make sense ever, but if you're counting on your status being honored, if you want to possibly receive an upgrade, you got to book directly through like Hyatt.com or Hilton.com or on IHG's website, and make sure you're logged into your loyalty program. Because if you just book as a third party, when you check in, they're not going to see the status. Even if you tell them you have status, they're not going to honor it, basically.
100%, yeah. That's like the most fundamental thing. All of what we just talked about becomes completely useless if you don't book via the right program. If you're ever not going to book on the hotel's website, the only thing you should be doing is booking via a preferred partner like Amex FHR, Hilton Impresario, or Hyatt Privé, something like that, which are all counted basically as direct bookings for the purposes of status. Another important trick here is that you need to actually ask for your upgrades, okay? Especially at places that aren't super high tier, they're often not going to proactively upgrade you, which sucks, but it's the world we live in. So you need to ask, you need to request, because then you're kind of setting this expectation of you're telling the hotel you want this. You want this upgrade. It means something to you. So then they're much more likely to actually give it to someone that asks versus someone that doesn't seem to care. So usually the best way to do this is emailing or calling prior to your stay. Now, the time frame of what you should do this depends. If you do it too far in advance, I think it could be good to do it really far in advance if you're letting them know about a very special occasion. So let's say it's your honeymoon, your anniversary, your birthday, something like that. Then sending an email fairly far in advance could be smart because that is a special occasion. It's more significant, and you probably want to let the hotel know. If it's just a routine stay, or let's say you don't even have a special occasion that you could theoretically conjure up that would make any sense, then doing it too far in advance could be an issue. Because if you ask a hotel for a suite upgrade 3 weeks in advance, they're going to say, Bozo, we can still sell the suite. We have 3 weeks, right? So doing it in a more reasonable time frame, maybe a couple nights before, maybe the night before, especially if you're calling in a night before.
Sometimes morning of.
Morning of even too, because that's the
Yeah.
day of check-in. That's like much like to them, like, okay, they're not going to sell a suite that quick usually, especially if they have a large inventory. So they're much more likely to accommodate that even at the time of calling.
Yeah.
And usually they'll block out rooms the night before. So so like at the very least, probably call the day prior, just because the night before is when they're blocking out rooms. Send an email a couple days in advance at least, so they have time to respond if you're doing an email. But yeah, you need to ask. That's like very, very important.
I want to add, like, some people are afraid to ask or feel embarrassed about asking because they feel like they're trying to get some kind of favor or whatever. I really don't think about it that way. Room upgrades are an aspect of the loyalty programs that you have spent money or points on, right? And it is the hotel's responsibility to address those benefits when you're checking in or even beforehand, right? So, don't feel embarrassed or uncomfortable about it. Just ask, the worst case that'll happen is they say no, or it's not available, or you just don't get upgraded, right? You're not losing out on a lot. It's not like a big gamble or something, but you never know. By asking, you're increasing your upgrade odds significantly. Ask beforehand. I mean, I personally like texting the property, oftentimes the World of Hyatt app, a few days before check-in. The number of the property to text will open up, and I can do that without having to call in. Sometimes emailing works, sometimes calling works, and even ask at check-in, like when you're make sure before they assign your room, be like, hey, as a globalist or as whatever elite member, I'm wondering if there are any suite upgrades available or particular upgrades available, So that will give you a higher chance. Don't assume that they'll automatically give it to you, and don't assume that just because they didn't automatically give it to you that it was unavailable.
I think very good point. And I 100% agree with your point on like not being embarrassed. Like the hotel chains literally advertise this as a perk of their program. So if they're not, they've advertised this, you've earned the status, you've done your part. It's on the hotels to do their part now. So don't feel embarrassed asking. But the key here also, be very polite. Okay, when you're asking for these upgrades, don't demand it. Don't act upset if you don't get it. Act very nice and very polite because it's still a human doing it. It's not an algorithm. So you can be clear that it would, you can be firm in it. Like you could, for example, if you're at a Hyatt property and there's a standard suite very clearly available and they're just refusing to give it to you, you can be firm and very respectful saying, I understand you may not see it available, but I do see it as bookable on the app. There is a standard suite open. Hyatt terms state I should be able to get the standard suite. Is there any way we could, you could double check? We could talk to a supervisor because it is something that is supposed to be done. And I'm not sure, you just be very polite to people. You can still be firm. Just make sure you're treating everyone with respect. And on that note of being like polite and stuff, don't be an idiot about what you're requesting. Know the program terms. If you are a Marriott Silver and you're asking for a suite upgrade, that is just absurd. Okay, unless it's like your honeymoon and you're just trying to get a really, really special treatment, that's stupid. You got to know like what's in the realm of possibility. So, as a globalist, I will request premium suites a lot because that's not in the terms, okay, but it's in the realm of possibility. It's only like, okay, if it's like a category or two above the standard, maybe it happens. And what I often try to throw in there, especially when I'm requesting these like gonzo suites that I know I'm not eligible for, I might just say like, look, I know you probably usually don't upgrade this high. I understand that. No worries at all if you can't. But, if you have any extra availability, maybe, the room is not going to be taken. It would be great if possible. But if not, I understand, that's beyond the terms. But it'd be great. So like that's something to throw in there, like the expectation, like the person knows you're not being an idiot then at check-in. You're not demanding the presidential suite when you're not entitled to it versus like it's just a nice request. If they have it, that's great. But if not, no big deal.
Yeah, I think one important thing you threw in there is like you can say, oh, I would love to be upgraded to X room, but if that's not available, any other upgrade or upgrade to Y room would also be greatly appreciated, right? So kind of be upfront about what you want, but also offer flexibility if that is not available.
For sure. No, 100%. I think that's like a very, very good key. And like ask for the room you want as well. Because if you just ask, people just like, oh, is there any upgrade available? And then they get like a high floor room and then they're like mad. But like you asked for just an upgrade. You set the expectation of any upgrade. You need to make the expectation of like the room that you specifically want to have. Because that makes it so much, clearer to them. Additionally, when you're asking for these, check the availability on the apps and stuff. Because if a hotel is sold out and you go demanding a suite upgrade, there's nothing they can do. Now, sometimes hotels will have like these phantom availabilities of like suites or whatever that they can still upgrade you to sometimes. Very rare, but just like, so sometimes it could still be worth to ask. But just check the availability. And that also kind of gives you leverage at check-in. Because if there's a standard suite available for a Hyatt check-in and the person's refusing to upgrade you to it and they're saying it's not available, but you see it bookable on the app, what does that mean? So it's either the case that this suite is incorrectly displaying on the app as not bookable, which is unlikely, or the person is just saying they don't want to upgrade you to it. So usually when I'm asking for these upgrades, I'll say something like, oh, I see that there's a standard suite available on the app. Is there any chance you could upgrade me to it? Because you didn't have to be this like awkward encounter of like them saying it's not available and then I'm like, oh no, it actually is. Like you're setting the expectation of like, look, I understand it's available. I see it's available. Can you now upgrade me to it? So I think that's a very good way of like not being rude about it, but also being clear that like this suite is available. We can see it's available. Can I have it, please?
I think that's a really good point. Oftentimes, even if I know that it's available on the app, I'll still just ask in a normal way. And then if they, sort of are not honest about it and say, oh, it's sold out or whatever, I'll just be like, hey, I did see that it is bookable on the app, on the website. Would you mind double checking again? Oftentimes that signals that you are actually aware of the availability, and then they will upgrade it. There still might be a chance that they won't, but it can't hurt to try, right? As long as you're being respectful and not acting entitled about it. Another thing is that if you have a shorter stay, you're more likely to be upgraded. And that's because, right, like if you have a 4-night stay, but like the suite is only available 2 of the nights, then they're less likely to upgrade you because, they need the suite for the other 2 nights for the people who actually booked it. But if you're doing a 1-night stay or even a 2-night stay and, that upgrade just happens to be available for that one night, you're going to get it like in a much more likely probability.
I think it's a very good point, and I think this is something that I actually utilized. You could actually game this a little bit. So this is what I'm gonna call, I'm piloting as my own term here, the 1+X upgrade strategy. Now this only works at very limited number of hotels, but the idea is there's two angles to it. One is if you like absolutely like need the upgrade at the hotel for your stay to be like worth it. Now I'll talk about this in a second. Some people are gonna get mad when I say this, but I'll go into more detail in a second. The other version, though, is just like you want to maximize your chance at an upgrade. So, as Sherwin said, shorter stays are more likely to be successful in this. So, what you can do, let's say you have a long stay or a semi-long stay. Now, the problem is, let's say you see the suites available the whole stay, but you know that, like, in the prior, the night before, the day before, they're probably going to want to prioritize a shorter stay because they'd rather upgrade, like 3 elite members on shorter stays than 1 guy on a long stay. But we can game this because let's say for our first night, we book a single night booking. Maybe that's with our free night certificate. Maybe that's with points, but it's a 1-night booking. That is like our one part of the 1+X. Then the second is you just book however long of a stay you want. Okay, that's your X nights. And on your first night, now you don't have to tell the hotel necessarily about your remaining stay. Now, depending on property, you'll have, variable flexibility on this, but you can book your first night, show up to the property, check in. Try to get your 1-night upgrade. Okay, that's your priority here. You're getting your single night upgrade. If you are upgraded, later in the day, you call up the hotel, say, hey, I love the room I'm in. I actually have another X night stay right after this. Is it possible I could just keep the same room? And because you're already at the hotel and you're already there and you're already in the room, they don't really want to move you. So if that suite's available for the remainder of your stay, they're more likely to give it to you. And this gives you a head start for a day before all the other elites show up tomorrow and try to get that suite. So you've like gained a head start. If you don't get upgraded, great, you have a new stay now. You have another stay the next day. You can try again. So that's what I utilized here actually, because at this hotel, to be honest, I really didn't want to stay here without the harbor view because they sell this hotel on the harbor view. It is the best harbor view direct of the harbor in all of Hong Kong, period, not even a debate. So to me, that was the whole point. Now, I didn't want to pay cash though for a harbor view room and I didn't want to pay the upgrade fee. So at this hotel, you can cancel up till 6 p.m. the night prior. So I had a 1-night stay and a 4-night stay. If they didn't upgrade my 1-night stay, I was just going to cancel my 4-night stay after. I wasn't going to be rude about it or anything. I wasn't going to say like, oh, I'm demanding it or like I'm going to cancel if you don't do it. I was just going to end up canceling it if they didn't and go to the Hyatt Regency instead. So now they ended up upgrading me, which is awesome. Love that. So great job here. But it was, I felt like, okay, there wasn't like this, I need to get upgraded because normally people say, only book the room you actually want. That's not true. Only book the room that you actually are the minimum you're happy with unless you have a backup option. If you have a backup option, it's no big deal. Okay, back to you, Sherwin. That was a bit of a complicated strategy.
No, I think it's a really cool and nuanced strategy that I really don't hear other people talking about. But do you note that some properties or some hotel chains have computer systems that will like automatically link like adjacent reservations together? So if you book like a 1-night and then a 5-night, they might like link it together. So this may or may not work. It's kind of a your mileage may vary situation. Speaking of durations of stays, sometimes the upgraded room will only be available on parts of your stay, either near the beginning or near the end, right? So what you could do is offer to be willing to move during the stay, right? Maybe the suite is only available in the first 2 nights, not the last 3 nights. Offer to be willing to move after the first 2 nights back to a standard room, if they need that availability again. Or maybe on the day you check in, none of the suites are available, but on the next day when you check the app, when we're using the strategy of checking what is actually available and being sold, you check the app and you see that, a better room is available and you have, it's in the realm of possibility based on status, right? You can go back to front desk and ask to be moved starting from that second day. Sometimes they will do that if the availability is there. So a lot of it comes down to your willingness to be flexible, if that's important. But I also understand the argument that moving can be a hassle and may not be worth it for an upgrade, especially if it's not like a significant upgrade. So it just depends on your preference and your particular situation.
For sure, I think that's a very good point. And then I think another strategy as well is like you can book a standard room on, and this is something I don't understand why people don't utilize. Let's say you want a suite at a hotel. Let's say you want the ocean view or you want that better room. Don't book it. book the standard room, then email them asking to upgrade into the better tier. Almost always, it's going to be cheaper than booking the higher tier directly. Like, if you have status, often they'll offer you a discount on the upgrade fee. Now, this especially works well with points because, with points, you have to book the standard room. So they're not going to go like, oh, why didn't you just book this room if you want an upgrade to it? But I think it works either way, and it's your mileage may vary on it, but if you're booking the standard room, let's say you book a standard room for $500 and the room you want is $1,000 retailing. They're going to offer you that upgrade for less than $500 extra on your room cost, usually if you have status. So it's a very easy way to save money. I have experienced this at the Waldorf Cabo, where I was offered a room that sold, it was like, I want to say it sold for like $2,000 a night more, or maybe $1,500 a night more, and they were offering it for like $900 a night. Now, like that might not seem in this case, it was actually very interesting because it was like a 3-bedroom house, so we could have fit more people in there, so the economics would have made sense. But like that was an upgrade. Like they offered me basically the upgrade for 50% off, versus if I had booked it directly, I would have been paying way more money. So I think that's like a really powerful tool to utilize because it's a way you can still confirm your upgrades in advance. You can, still pay the fee now or book it direct, have the hotel block you into it and just pay it when you're there. So it's a really powerful way, and it's a very, very easy way to save money.
You book the standard room as an award, right? And then try to upgrade with cash. So remember, there's this combination. Is that right, Sean?
That's the main way to do it. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think if you're trying to do like a cash booking directly, they might just like give you the retail price of the room.
Yeah.
So like with points, it's especially nice because they can't do that. There's no way to do that for them. So they have to charge you an upgrade fee. But usually that will be less than the difference in price between the retail price of the standard room and the upgraded room that you're trying to attain.
Cool. So now that we've talked about a bunch of different strategies, as well as the different tips and tricks based on the hotel statuses with respect to upgrades, should we close this out with maybe a couple stories about personal experiences with cool upgrades?
Definitely, yeah. So I think some of my favorite upgrades, one has to be at the Andaz in San Diego. I was upgraded to a cabana suite, which is like their second to top tier suite. Also, the guy was willing to upgrade me to the top tier suite as well. Like he was fully willing to do that. He just said he recommended the cabana suite because it had a private pool cabana. There was a private staircase from my suite up to the rooftop pool that directly entered to my own pool cabana, which is insane. That was so cool. That was amazing. I was only there for one night, but wonderful upgrade experience there. Obviously, this is one of my favorite upgrades.
How did you get that
Hyatt
upgrade?
Globalist. Hyatt Globalist. I called
but
the
did you
day
ask
before.
Okay.
I did. I called the day before. I was like, look, I know this is like a super top tier suite. You probably don't do it. Is there any way you could do it? It'd be really fun. We're going for like my anniversary. And the guy was like, oh, yeah, no problem. I'll book you into it right now. And I was so surprised. So that was amazing. And this is another amazing upgrade. This is like one of my favorites ever because this is the best view I've ever had at any hotel room. But I'm trying to think if there's any. What are some upgrades that you've had that you've been like amazed with?
I think Ventana Big Sur at Hyatt. We were globalist, and the interesting story here is I was looking at the different rooms that were available. I was like, oh, it might be cool if I get like one of the pretty good suites or something. I was talking about this with Sean, and Sean encouraged me to just ask for the most expensive one. And I'm like, is that a good strategy? Because I feel like that might be too much, or they won't upgrade me, and then I'll have less priority or something. But Sean insisted that I just ask for the best suite, so I did call them up like the day before, and we're like, oh, can you upgrade me to that? And it costs like twice as much as like the standard room. It's like near $3,000, legit. But I booked on points. And I was like, oh, can you upgrade me to this? We appreciate it. And, even if that's not available, we'd be happy with a different type of suite upgrade, whatever. So, again, stating what I wanted, but also, stating that I was willing to be flexible with a different upgrade that wasn't available. And then, they were like, oh, we only processed this on day of arrival, but they made a note of my request. And, the next day, like on the day of my stay, I checked the app and they did actually upgrade me to the most expensive suite, which is pretty crazy.
That's amazing. Yeah, and I think that's like also a very good point of like it's very property dependent because like normally if someone was checking into a hotel, I would not tell them to ask for the top suite, unless there's this special circumstance. But like in your case, I had known that Ventana was especially generous with upgrades, to where they'll just kind of and they have so many globalists as well. They just upgrade you to whatever's available. So like I
Yeah.
knew there was like a chance in that case to get the top suite. And it's awesome that you were able to get that. And I think yeah, that's a really good point. Another
Yeah.
really cool
Also,
upgrade for
like
me
it
was
was a one night stay, so I think that might also have made it easier to get the upgrade, as I talked about.
oh, for sure. Yeah, that helped them out a lot probably because they'd rather just upgrade all these different elites to it so they can have like all these people giving positive experiences.
Yeah.
Another cool one for me was at the Andaz in Maui, which I had 2 stays there. The first one, I got a very nice ocean view room. Standard suite wasn't open. Before I left to go to Hana for a night and come back, I asked the very, very nice lady at the front desk, and I said, hey, look, we love having an ocean view. We have a second stay. If you could, I didn't want to ask for the same room because I wanted to, like, just in case they gave me a suite. And I said, hey, I would love if you could just, we love having an ocean view. If anything with like a similar type of view would be amazing. A similar ocean view would be amazing. And she's like, sure, yeah, I'll see what I can do. And then the next morning, keep in mind, this still wasn't the day I was checking in. I was going to Hana for a night. So it was like, it's still a full day before arrival. I see on my app I was upgraded to an ocean view suite, which is well beyond the standard suite. It's actually 2 categories above the standard suite. And that was amazing to have. And there were people in like the Hyatt subreddit that were so jealous because they were like staying on their honeymoon and they couldn't get that. And I was able to just get that. It was a short stay. It was only a 2-night stay. So that's what helped. But that was an amazing room. Full ocean view suite direct. It was like really amazing.
Yeah, it's very cool, and I think I think your status really matters at a lot of these. I always hear these cringe pieces of advice like, oh, they'll upgrade people who dress up the most or people who bribe the front desk agent, which may or may not work, but it's not kind of what we're focused on. A lot of it comes down to their perceived loyalty of like the member to the hotel chain, and as well as using some of these techniques we talked about.
Definitely. Yeah. I wanted to actually just throw in one final thing here. When you said like loyalty to the hotel chain, even if you're booking on points, you're still loyal to the chain. They are being, I'm more like, because some people like argue that like, oh, if you're booking on points, you're not even like a loyal member. I completely disagree. One, when you transfer your points over to these programs such as Chase to World of Hyatt, Hyatt's being directly compensated by Chase. So Hyatt's making money off of you. If you're buying the points, they're making money off you. If you're earning the points, they're being compensated by the bank that is issuing the points to you. So they are making money already. And then when you stay at the hotel chain or whatever hotel property, that property is being compensated by your stay from the main major chain. So like they are still being paid all across the board. You're still paying for your stay. You're just paying with a different currency. So you're still loyal to the chain. You still deserve these upgrades even if you're on points. There's really like no difference that you should perceive if you're paying cash or paying points for this. Like it's not free either way. You're paying just with a different fairy tale currency.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's all for today's episode about hotel upgrades. Hope you really enjoyed it. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're growing very fast and would love to hit 1,000 subscribers soon. Also, please check out our Discord. Sean, do you want to plug that?
Yeah, so if you want to connect with an elite group of award travelers entirely for free, check out the link in the description for the Travel Lane Discord group. Very smart people in there. We'll drop deal alerts all the time. It's a great way to stay connected and meet some other people that are very, very knowledgeable in this game. And if you also want to help support the channel immensely, please consider using our affiliate links at the link in the description. If you plan to apply for any credit card, it helps out so much you have absolutely no idea. But thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next week.
Thank you. Goodbye.